A juice box, that's what started it. One spilled drink at a country horse show, and suddenly two young girls were at the center of a royal firestorm nobody saw coming. Palace walls have kept many secrets over the centuries, but when Prince William stepped forward, looked his father in the eye, and made a decision that sent shockwaves through the entire family, those walls couldn't hold it back any longer. What he did next changed everything for Princess Charlotte. You know, most people think royal life is all tiaras and tea parties, that behind those gilded doors, everything runs smooth. Everyone gets along. Everyone plays nice. They don't. And if you've been paying attention, you already know that the cracks in this family go deep, deeper than the tabloids usually let on. But this story, this one cuts different, because this isn't about Harry and Meghan. This isn't about some distant cousin nobody's heard of. This is about a 10-year-old girl, a princess, and a father who decided he'd had enough. So let's get into it. Princess Charlotte of Wales turned 10 years old in May 2025. And by every public account, she's growing into one of the most charming young members of the royal family in a generation. She's poised. She's confident. She waved at crowds during Trooping the Color like she'd been doing it her whole life, which technically she has. Kate and William have been careful with their children, really careful. After everything Kate went through with her cancer diagnosis and treatment, both of them came out the other side with a different view of what matters. Friends of the couple have said publicly that the experience changed them, that it sharpened their priorities. Family first, protection first, everything else can wait. And that protective instinct, it runs especially strong when it comes to Charlotte. See, Charlotte occupies a tricky spot in the royal hierarchy. She's second in line behind Prince George, the spare behind the heir. And if that phrase makes you think of Prince Harry, it should. Harry wrote an entire memoir about what that position did to him psychologically, about growing up in William's shadow, about feeling like the backup plan. Royal biographer Robert Hardman put it plainly. He said the late Queen Elizabeth was always conscious of that difficult role, that she had a particular soft spot for Princess Margaret, for Prince Andrew, and for Harry. She understood that being second in a family built on strict hierarchy has real consequences. William understood it too, maybe better than anyone. So he and Kate made a quiet decision early on. Charlotte would never feel like an afterthought. She'd never feel second best. They would raise all three children with the same sense of purpose and belonging. No favorites, no hierarchy at home, even if one existed on paper. That was the plan. And for the most part, it worked, until it didn't. Now here's where we need to talk about Queen Camilla, or more specifically, her family. Because this story doesn't make sense without understanding who Camilla's grandchildren are and how they fit into the bigger picture. Camilla has 5 biological grandchildren. They come from her 2 children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, both of whom are from her first marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles. None of these grandchildren hold royal titles. They're not princes or princesses. They're not in the line of succession. Technically, they're private citizens who happen to have a grandmother sitting on a throne. The oldest granddaughter on the Lopes side is Eliza Lopes, born in January 2008. You might actually remember her if you watched William and Kate's wedding back in 2011. She was 3 years old and one of the flower girls. There's a famous photo of Prince Charles scooping her up on the Buckingham Palace balcony so she could see the crowds below. It was sweet. It was innocent. A lot has changed since then. Eliza is now 18. She's the daughter of Laura Lopes and her husband Harry Lopes, a former Calvin Klein model turned accountant. Eliza grew up quietly, out of the spotlight mostly. Laura has always been protective of her children's privacy, and for years the arrangement worked fine. The Parker Bowles grandchildren would show up at the occasional royal event, smile politely, and go back to their normal lives. But as Camilla's role expanded, so did her family's visibility. And with that visibility came access. More invitations, more appearances, more time spent around the Wales children. And that, according to multiple sources, is where the friction started. Let's set the scene. A country horse show, the kind of low-key, semi-private event the royals attend when they want to feel normal for a few hours. Horses, picnic blankets, kids running around on the grass. It was supposed to be relaxed. Charlotte was there, Eliza was there, and at some point during the afternoon, something happened between them. Details vary depending on who you ask. Some accounts describe a spilled drink. Others mention a remark, the kind of thing kids say without thinking. But whatever it was, it landed hard. Charlotte was visibly upset, and when William noticed, he didn't brush it off. He stepped in immediately. Now, before we go further, let's be clear about something. Kids have conflicts. It happens. A spilled juice box at a horse show isn't normally the kind of thing that makes international headlines. But this wasn't a normal situation. This was a pattern. People close to the family say this wasn't an isolated incident, that there had been previous moments of tension between Charlotte and Camilla's grandchildren at family gatherings. Small things mostly. Comments about status, about who belonged where, about who was really royal and who wasn't. And for William, that horse show was the final straw. What happened next is what everyone's talking about. According to sources who spoke to several outlets, William made a direct appeal. Not just to Camilla, to King Charles himself. He wanted clear boundaries drawn around who had access to his children at royal events, and he wanted those boundaries formalized. He wasn't asking, he was telling. Now think about what that means for a second. The Prince of Wales, the future King of England, going to the current king and essentially saying, "Keep your wife's grandchildren away from my daughter." That's not a small ask, that's a line in the sand. And according to reports, William went further. He raised the question of titles, privileges, and access, specifically whether Camilla's grandchildren should continue to enjoy the informal courtesies and invitations that had been extended to them as the Queen's family members. In other words, he wanted a title strip. Not a formal one, because Camilla's grandchildren don't hold formal royal titles anyway, but an informal one, a removal of the unspoken privileges that come with being connected to the crown. No more automatic invitations to state events. No more seats in the royal box. No more casual access to the Wales children at private gatherings. A clean break. And here's what makes this so explosive. Camilla didn't take it well. Sources say she was furious. She saw William's move as a direct attack on her family, on her legacy, on the very things she'd spent decades trying to build. Because you have to understand Camilla's journey to get why this hit so hard. She spent years as the most hated woman in Britain, the other woman, the one who broke up Charles and Diana's marriage. She endured decades of public hostility, tabloid attacks, protesters showing up at her events, people calling her names on the street. And through all of it, she held on. She married Charles in 2005. She slowly won over the public. She took on more and more royal duties. She was made queen consort at Charles's coronation. The late Queen Elizabeth herself gave her blessing in a public statement, saying it was her sincere wish that Camilla would carry the title. It was the ultimate rehabilitation story. But for Camilla, it was never just about her. It was about her family too. About proving that the Parker Bowles side belonged in the royal orbit, that her grandchildren deserved a place at the table. And now William was pulling that chair away. The tension between William and Camilla isn't new, by the way. It's been there for years, simmering, barely concealed. Royal author Angela Levin wrote about it in her book. She said William has made it clear that Camilla is his father's wife, but not a step-grandmother to his children. That George, Charlotte, and Louis know they have two grandfathers, but only one grandmother, and that grandmother is Carol Middleton. That's a devastating distinction when you think about it. Camilla can sit on a throne. She can wear the crown jewels. She can ride in the golden carriage. But in William's house, she's not grandma. She's dad's wife. And her grandchildren? They're not family. They're guests. And guests can be uninvited. The kids themselves call Camilla Gaga. It's a nickname that came up at the 2016 Royal Variety performance. Camilla herself told Lady Gaga about it. Said her step-grandchildren had come up with it. She seemed charmed by it at the time. But insiders say the warmth behind that nickname has cooled considerably in recent years, especially after what happened with Charlotte. Let's talk about Charlotte for a second, because she's at the center of all of this, and she deserves more than being treated as a pawn in a palace chess game. Charlotte is 10. She plays piano. She performed alongside her mother at the Royal Carols concert in December 2025. She took selfies with fans at the Christmas Day walkabout at Sandringham, and William had to gently remind her to keep up with the rest of the family. She's spirited. She's got personality. Royal watchers consistently say she reminds them of the late Queen Elizabeth. She's also growing up in a world that's watching her every move, every outfit, every wave, Every facial expression gets analyzed by millions of people online. And she's a child. She shouldn't have to deal with any of this, but she does because she was born into it. And because the people around her, the adults who are supposed to protect her, don't always have her best interests at heart. William knows this. Kate knows this. That's why they've been so careful about who gets access, about who's in the room, about which events the children attend and which ones they skip. After Kate's cancer diagnosis, the couple got even more protective. A friend of theirs told a reporter that it was impossible to go through that kind of trauma without being changed as a person. Both William and Kate came out of it with sharper instincts about who to trust and who to keep at a distance. And right now, Camilla's family is on the keep at a distance list. The fallout from William's decision has been messy. Palace staff have reportedly been scrambling to manage the situation behind the scenes. Courtiers are juggling schedules to minimize overlap between Kate and Camilla at public events. One source described the current dynamic as requiring careful choreography to prevent the two women from being in the same room for longer than necessary. That's not family. That's a diplomatic negotiation. And Charles is caught in the middle. By all accounts, the king adores his grandchildren. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, Prince Louis. He loves them. He wants to see them. Kate has apparently tried to maintain that relationship, even as tensions have grown between William and his father. An insider recently said Kate believes the situation will improve with time. She understands why William feels hurt, but also knows he still loves his father. She reportedly hopes the children can continue to have a close relationship with their grandfather, regardless of what's happening between the adults. But maintaining that relationship while cutting off Camilla's side of the family, that's a tightrope, and nobody knows how long anyone can walk it before someone falls. Here's what makes William's position so interesting. He's not doing this out of spite. At least that's not what the people around him say. He's doing it out of fear. Fear that Charlotte will be treated differently because she's the spare. Fear that she'll be overshadowed. Fear that the very people who are supposed to welcome her into the family are the ones making her feel small. He watched his brother go through that. He saw what the spare label did to Harry. The resentment, the isolation, the public breakdown, the memoir, the Netflix series, the family torn apart. William doesn't want that for Charlotte, not any version of it. And if keeping Camilla's grandchildren at arm's length is the price of protecting his daughter, he'll pay it without hesitation. The late Queen knew this about him. Elizabeth understood that William's protective streak was both his greatest strength and his most dangerous weapon. When he decides to draw a line, he doesn't redraw it. He digs in, and right now, he's dug in deep. There's another layer to this that people aren't talking about enough. The question of what happens when William becomes king. Because when that day comes, everything changes. William will have the power to formalize what he's already doing informally. He can restructure who gets invited to what. He can redefine who counts as extended family for royal events and privileges. He can make Camilla's grandchildren completely invisible in the royal landscape if he wants to. And based on what he's said publicly, change is on his agenda. In an October 2025 interview for Apple TV+, William said directly that change was coming when he took the throne. He talked about protecting his family from media scrutiny. He talked about shielding his children from the intrusions he experienced growing up. He didn't name Camilla or her family specifically, but the message was clear to anyone listening. The future is his to shape, and he plans to shape it around his children. Royal correspondent Simon Vigar picked up on this immediately. He said public disputes about what can be reported concerning the young royals will escalate as William gets closer to the crown. William and Kate would likely enforce a gentleman's agreement similar to the one that protected William during his university years at St. Andrews. An understanding that gave him space to live his life without cameras tracking his every step. They want the same thing for George, Charlotte, and Louis. But the gentleman's agreement only works if everyone agrees to honor it. And right now, not everyone is on the same page. Camilla wants her grandchildren included. William wants them excluded. Charles wants peace. Kate wants to protect her kids. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, a 10-year-old girl is just trying to grow up. That's the tragedy of this story. Not the titles, not the privileges, not the palace politics. The tragedy is that Charlotte is 10. She should be worrying about school, piano lessons, and what to wear to her next birthday party. Instead, she's caught in a generational tug-of-war between two sides of a family that never fully blended to begin with. Because that's the truth nobody at the palace wants to admit. Charles married Camilla, but the families never really merged. They exist in parallel, overlapping at formal events and diverging the moment the cameras stop rolling. William made peace with Camilla years ago, or at least he made the appearance of peace. He attended the wedding. He stood at the coronation. He said the right things, but peace is not the same as trust. And trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. William has been clear about who he trusts. Kate, the Middletons, Carol, and Michael. They're the ones who taught him what a loving, supportive family looks like. Angela Levin wrote that William learned through the Middletons how a real family works. That Carol makes him feel secure, comfortable, and protected. That's the warmth he wants around his children. Not palace formality, not step-family politics. Real warmth, the kind where you don't have to watch your back. And until he's confident that Camilla's side of the family can provide that, the doors stay closed. Some people will call this harsh. Some will say William is being unfair, that he's punishing children for the sins of palace politics, that Eliza Lopes is just a young woman who never asked for any of this. And those people might have a point. But William isn't thinking about fairness right now. He's thinking about Charlotte, about what kind of childhood she gets to have, about whether she'll look back on these years and feel loved or feel overlooked. He's thinking about what Harry would have wanted someone to do for him at that age. The protection nobody offered, the boundaries nobody set. William is setting them now for his daughter, and the palace can gasp all they want. He's not backing down. The question everybody's asking is whether this rift can be healed, whether Charles can broker some peace between his eldest son and his wife, whether Camilla's family can find a way back into the fold. Honestly, nobody knows. What we do know is that the monarchy has survived worse. Wars, abdications, divorces, scandals that would have destroyed any other family. But the monarchy survives because someone always steps up to protect it, to make the hard calls, to put the institution above personal feelings. Right now, William believes he's doing exactly that and protecting the future of the crown by protecting the children who will carry it. Whether the rest of the family agrees is another matter entirely. But one thing is certain. When Prince William sets a boundary, he means it. And when it comes to Princess Charlotte, there is no boundary he won't enforce. Not against the press, not against his own brother, and certainly not against Camilla's granddaughter. Charlotte comes first. She always will. And that's where things stand right now. If you made it this far, drop a comment below and tell me what you think. Is William right to protect Charlotte this way? Or has he gone too far? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Because trust me, this story isn't over. Not even close.